Today we're going to talk about the subject is how to earn a six-figure income in real estate. And this is based upon a bunch of stuff, some new, some older, and it's from observations that I made about people that are doing very well in real estate and what you could do perhaps to do better. And there's a link to a document, which is essentially what I'm going to be talking about, although there will also be some, roaming around on a website or two just for demonstration purposes. So I think everybody, right, can see a copy of it. I hope so. I hope so. And I'm going to share. How about that? How about that? All right. I'm not now. You want Google always wants to give me suggestions. And a little bit off there. So I assume that you're here because you too would like to earn a six-figure income or better in real estate. It really bothers me that it says in anyhow. I'll get used to it. And this is the problem, right? This is the problem. Now, this is from recent information released from the National Association of Realtors when they survey agents and they do their generational trends. And the average real estate agent works about 30 hours a week. Now, just to start with, one of the advantages, one of the superpowers that you could have as a real estate agent that would allow you to effectively compete is you can outwork most real estate agents. You can outwork them, right? Because if you're willing to put in 40 hours a week or even more, and the average is, well, you get the idea, right? The average is working about 30 hours a week. The average realtor with 16 plus years of experience made a little over $80,000. $80,700. Some of them may live in cheaper places than we do. Now, the question, of course, comes to my mind is, are they happy with $80,700? If you had a goal and your goal was to earn a six-figure income in real estate, your goal was to make at least $100,000 or more, would you accept $80,000? I'm asking you this. This is a serious question. You can type in, I'm encouraging people to chat if you want to chat on some of this. But if your goal was to earn a six-figure income, but you were actually only making $80,000, would you be okay with that? Is anybody texting me? No. Oh, no, I get a no. That's good. Thank you. No. Oh, no, hell no. More no's, right? Not a lot, but a couple of them. So thank you. Thank you for participating. And if you said yes, then that means your goal really isn't $100,000, right? If your goal is $100,000 or $200,000 or $300,000, then we ought to make a plan to do that. But you understand most real estate agents aren't making that much money. The average realtor with 1 to 2 years of experience annually made $9,600. 9,000. By the way, that's up from the last time they did the survey. Now, if you're wondering how is this possible, the answer is that the majority of people that are in real estate are uncommitted, unmotivated, untrained, unsuccessful. So I've been doing this for a while, and I have literally assisted thousands of real estate agents. I'm not kidding. In launching their real estate careers, some of whom are some of the more successful real estate agents. I spent a long time at Century 21 and Keller Williams, some of the top agents at some of the Keller Williams offices. I had coached and mentored at one point in time. And I'll tell you what I know is that if you take 100 new real estate agents or even 100 used real estate agents, how many of them are actually going to work hard, be committed, be serious? It's not 20%. Right? Probably not 20%. Right? There are people that are serious, and then there are people that are curious. And for a large percentage of the people with real estate licenses, particularly in California, they're doing it as a side hustle hobby. Right. So why would they only make $9,600 a year? It's because they're only doing one or two or three transactions a year. That's all they're doing, because they're just talking to the people they know. And the people they know want to buy someone to do something, but that's really all that they're doing. They're not making a serious effort at making a substantial amount of money. Now, development, like how do we get through all this, would require the right mindset, the right skills, and the right work ethic, which I'm going to get to in a minute. So that's yeah. Now, after which side on, how about here? So if we were going to put together a tactical foundation, right? What are we going to do so that we can earn a six-figure income in real estate? These would be the four tactics. One of them is lead generation. We know that you have to know what to say, you have to have people to say it to, and you have to say it to them enough times to produce results. We know that. And that you can kind of determine, depending upon how many people you talk to, how many clients you're going to get. Now, related to that is skill development, because you got to know what to say. You got to know how to make a presentation. You got to know how to do a consultation, right? You need to know the scripts and the presentations and consultations that are part of the business. And then operations means that when you get something, you're going to want to make sure that everything, every little sliver of a splinter of something that needs to be done and ought to be done is in fact being done. So that the customer service level is really high and that everything is going smoothly and you're closing the transactions. And accountability is sometimes the most important and the overlooked part. And the thing about accountability in real estate is, in many sense, real estate is very easy. Most of the things that we are going to talk about, what you need to do, they're easy to learn how to do. They're easy. But the fact that they're easy to do means that it's also easy to not do. Um, and it's easy to not do. By the way, just as are you seeing that slide throughout the whole screen, or is there like a side panel? Could somebody tell me? Oh,
Full
wait,
screen.
it's all screen. Thank you. All right. So if it's easy to do, then it's easy not to do. And one of the reasons that people don't make six-figure incomes in real estate is because real estate is too easy to get into. It's too easy to get out of. And it's too optional while you're in. And so accountability is there some mechanism by which the progress that you have made a goal to make is in fact happening, and you have somebody that can hold you accountable. Of these four, and we're practicing texting today, which of these four do you think is the one you might need the most help with? If any, maybe you say, I'm good. I got them all. Of course, you probably wouldn't be on this call if you did, but anybody want one? Number one, lead generation, lead generation. We got lots of lead generation. Yeah. Leads 2 and 1 and 3 and 4. Yeah, there we go. 2, 3, and 4. All right. So let's talk about that. You want to make a six-figure income. If you did 24 transactions in 1 year closed, you would be making a six-figure income. Depending on which zip code you're in, it could be a lot more than that. But there are very few real estate agents in the sound of my voice right now that aren't in the market where 24 deals wouldn't make that happen. Now, let's just assume for funsies that you're going to evenly split those 24 transactions between buyers and sellers. So there's going to be 12 buyers and there's going to be 12 sellers. And let's assume you're not good at this, right? You have lousy clients, right? Lousy clients. The buyers are all unemployed, bankrupt, and convicted arsonists, right? The sellers owe way more money than the property is worth, and they don't want to lower the price, right? That doesn't happen all the time, but let's say it happens enough that half of all of your transactions fall through. You would need 24 pending buyers to close 12 and 24 active listings to close 12. And by the way, just in case you're wondering, we're in a market right now where closer to 90%. It varies a lot by price range and a lot of other different things, but 80 to 90% of all the listings close within the listing, they sell within the listing term, right? So if 50%, it's been a long time since that was the one. But we need to, if we had 24 active listings in a year and 24 pending buyers in a year, we would probably have no problem doing the 24 transactions. Now, how many times would we have to have a consultation with a buyer in order to get a buyer? Well, let's say two. Now, if you're saying, well, it might be more than that, that depends upon the follow-up. We know from the surveys done by the National Association of Realtors that most buyers only talk to one agent, like 60, 70%. Most sellers only talk to one agent. But let's just assume that you would need 48 buyer consultations to end up with 24 buyers that are in your system. That would result in 12 closings. And you would need 48 listing presentations to get the 24 listings to get the 12 sellers. So let's also assume you don't want to overwork yourself. You got to take time off and everything. So you're not going to work 52 weeks a year. Right? No, you don't want to work that many. You want to take time off and all that. So let's say you're going to work 48 weeks. Right? That's it. Right? 48 weeks is all that you're planning to work. That means you need 2 appointments a week. Two appointments a week. That's it. By the way, when I was in a different position at another real estate company, I was required to have 2 appointments a day. A day. And I knew agents that were having 2 or 4 appointments a day, but you understand that 2 a week isn't really asking a lot, right? One buyer, one seller every week, 48 weeks, you would get there. Well, the question was where am I going to get the listing appointments from? The lead generation model, and I'm sorry that I'm missing a little bit over there. I've been reformatting. So in this sphere, where are we going to get those leads from? Well, we're going to get them from people we know. We're going to get them from open houses. We're going to get them from prospecting. That part on the left is what you would be focused on. The part on the right is what the team could help you with. And the system, which I'm going to explain, by the way, what I'm going to do today, we're not just going to talk about this, right? I'm going to tell you specifically what it is you ought to be doing in most of those quadrants, the first three, right? Specifically. And then later, there are resources available to make you more effective at it. So what would a typical full-time, close to full-time real estate agent be doing? Meds, right? This is you ought to, get your mind clear. Exercise, diet, and sleep. The better you feel, the better you're healthy, the better you're going to do. And a typical morning, you'd be practicing scripts, dialogues, and presentations for 30 minutes. You do it every day. If you were a professional musician, would you be practicing scales? Right? Would you be practicing? Right? If most real estate agents were football coaches, they would only practice trick plays, right? That's what most real estate. Give me the trick play, the secret ad, the magic words that That's all I want to know. The trick play. Whereas the most successful teams, it's blocking and tackling. It's the basics. So will I share the slides? Would somebody paste the link in? Dimitri was tardy today, so he didn't get a link. Would somebody do that for me? Well, there we go. Thank you, Khalid. Knew I could count on you. So you'd still want to be practicing. You would spend 3 hours if you were a full-time real estate agent and you were working 40 hours a week. 3 hours a day would be times 5 days would be 15 hours. There's still a lot of time. You would have an hour allocated to follow up. That would be a full-time agent's morning. And in the afternoon, you'd be holding appointments, showing and previewing properties, negotiating contracts, open houses. That's what it would look like if you were committed, if you're serious. Now, oops, over here. I did that. All right. So the goal of a lead generation model is to get you into production as fast as humanly possible. Now, at the beginning, if you're serious about making a lot of money in real estate, you ought to do everything you can to get going. It's if you have a plane or a jet, it has to have a certain minimum amount of net forward thrust in order for it to leave the ground. Once it's off the ground, it doesn't take as much thrust to keep it going, but we need to get a lot going to lift off the ground, which you see the metaphor, hopefully. So what we're looking for, because in my role is to hire, train, motivate, coach real estate agents. And if I were making a list of what I would look for, is if somebody that wants to make a six-figure income is a willingness to learn, a willingness to practice, a willingness to do certain activities. I have a list coming up, and a willingness to be accountable. By the way, out of 100 real estate agents, how many do I meet that are 2, 4, maybe out of 100 that meet all this criteria? That's it. You see, the problem with those numbers about 80,000 a year and $9,000 if you're, relatively new, is that that's an average. And the reality is, it's like if you're in a room and the air conditioning is either blasting and you're freezing or it turns off and then you're sweating, the average temperature might not be bad. But it's never the average temperature. It's either really, really hot or really, really cold. So we either have agents that are making lots of money in real estate, and then we have a bunch of people that are making very, very little, which is why the average, but the reality is many people are making, I know an agent that had last year 40 listings in an expensive market, right? So some people are making serious money, but it's a small percentage because those agents are the ones that are willing to do these 4 things. Now, the lead generation model I already talked about. This is just a little bit more detail. I didn't really need it now, but I'm going to be going through some of this. What you need in order to be effective at lead generation. What you really need are these 4 things: knowledge, skills, activity, and accountability. Knowledge comes first. Self-study, instruction, collaboration. What do we mean by knowledge? Well, one of the things, if you're serious about selling real estate at a high volume, is you need to know the inventory. You should know of 10 properties right now that you could discuss with somebody in your market area. This used to be called, I used to call it this, your instant inventory. The if somebody said, well, I need 5 bedroom homes, 2 story, something with a granny unit downstairs, you would be good if you knew some. And even if they say, well, no, that's not in the right area, well, we could find some in how many properties other than the one you live in, how many houses in your market could you discuss with a potential buyer or seller? How many? All right. Are there 10 that you could talk about? 10 hot deals? Somebody says, hey, have you seen any hot deals? Any good deals? See anything interesting on the market? How many of you have an answer to that question? Right. 100 previews? Under when? So you need, in order for you to be effective, and by the way, to get clients, you need to know the local inventory. And the only way to do that effectively is to go look at houses, which is why you would want to get a lockbox key, which, if possible, you'd want to go to some of the board meetings where they're, going and, viewing homes. You would want to schedule certain times of the day where you would go and preview properties. Well, how many can you preview in a day? You could easily do 5 in a relatively short period of time, because if you're not showing the property and you're not answering, we have a system for how to preview, right? And if you did 5 a day times 5 days a week, that would be 25 a week times 4 weeks, and you'd have 100. If you're thinking, I couldn't do 5 a day every day, 5 times a week, so it takes you 2 months. But if you were serious and you're devoting the time, you could do this. And by the way, one of the things that I had learned is that having a property to talk about is one of the most effective ways of generating business. And so, for example, I had, a listing coming up that was a 2 story, 5 bedroom house. It had a master upstairs and 3 bedrooms. And downstairs, it had another bedroom and a bathroom and a half bath for guests, the one downstairs, mother-in-law kind of a thing, grandmother, that sort of thing. Now, people would say to me, hey, how's the market going on? And I'd say, oh, it's great. Things are, I'd say, I just saw this great 5 bedroom house, right? It's got the downstairs for the in-law. It's got room for everybody else upstairs. Who of the people of all the people, who do you think would be most interested in moving into something bigger? I learned I was far more likely to get an answer than if I simply said, hey, you know anybody that wants to buy or sell real estate? No. Oh, do you want to buy or sell real estate? No. Do you know anybody that is going to buy or sell real estate in the near future? No. All right. Okay, thanks. But if you're talking about a particular, I was checking out of a grocery. I was wearing something that identified me as being in real estate. The checker said, so how's the real estate business? I said, it's, fantastic. I just saw this great condominium. It's a wonderful starter home. It's in a nice neighborhood, nice little complex. Who do you know that's interested in, buying their first house? And she said, I am, right? So knowing the inventory, and I know if you're in San Diego and Los Angeles and San Jose, you can't know everything, but you could start with the geographic area you were interested in. Where do you know people? Where do you work? Where do you live? If there was and I have other videos on how to pick a farm, but you could say, well, I want to be the Blossom Valley, I'm going to focus on that. I want to focus in, Oceanside. You get the idea. You ought to know about real estate financing and interest rates. Hmm? You ought to learn about the different general types of loans, and you ought to pay attention to what's happening in the mortgage market. Are interest rates going up? Are they going down? What's happening? All this stuff with the Federal Reserve and all the drama and what's happening. They being clients, kind of expect that you know something about this. When I talk about why would somebody want to work with you, one reason is because the local, the inventory, the market. Number two is you might know financing options that they don't know about, and they might trust you to help them with that. Also, you ought to understand about escrow and title and how transactions close and enough about construction that when it says in the termite report that there is dry rot on the soffit, you don't have to Google search what's a soffit, right? Event investing, those are all things that really, those are the knowledge of the industry. And you ought to be curious. And you ought to spend some time reading about those things. And you need to have scripts for the first three things. Right? You need to have scripts so that when this comes up, you know what to say. Scripts, which is related to skills. Nobody ever mastered any skill except through intensive, persistent, and intelligent practice. People that play classical music, how often do they practice? I remember reading about a professional quarterback and one most valuable player at the Super Bowl, and they had figured out that he practiced 60 hours a week, but in a typical game only was holding the ball for 12 minutes, but practiced for 60 hours because he wanted to make the best out of those 12 minutes. So what we need to do is to practice. So to get skills, and this may be a little bit blurry, or maybe it's just me, we're going to be doing these things for the team that are called power ups. And power ups is a script practice and involves role play so that we practice saying the words aloud. And then from practice to role play to real play means we're actually going to do something, right? Actually use the scripts. Um, Skills, what, how, and when to say it. Buyer and seller presentations. Lead generation scripts. What to say to your sphere of influence, what to say at open houses, what do you say during prospecting. Appointment and closing scripts. And Brivity is a technology platform, and knowing how to use the technology platform, whether it's the Place technology platform, Brivity, or another one like KV Core or wherever, that's something that's a skill. You need to know what to say. Now, um, activity. So all growth depends upon activity. No development physically or intellectually without effort. Oh, darn. Darn, he's talking about working. Ugh, I want an easy system. I want somebody to just give me leads. I just want them to hand them to me, and then I want the people to want to really, really buy or really, really sell, and I want them to pay me a big commission, and I don't want them to be any problems. I just want everything to be smooth, and I don't want to spend any money, and I want a really high commission split. And where's that program? Where is it? I haven't found it yet. So activity, the four things that you would be doing if you want to make a six-figure or greater income is you'd be working your sphere of influence. And we have certain standards that I'm going to suggest. Open houses, prospecting, and then lead follow-up. We know that 70% of all real estate transactions come not from the initial contact, but from following up afterwards, 70%. So I've had cases where a person I talked to a year ago, 2 years ago at an open house, eventually I'm listing their property because I didn't let go. And lead follow-up, that requires having a database and a sophisticated system. Right, let's look at a plan. Why don't more real estate agents make more money? Number one is they're not motivated. They really aren't, right? If somebody came to them and said, hey, aren't you a real estate agent? They might, admit it, and say, well, yeah, I am. What's it to you? All right, well, can you help me buy a house? And then think, oh, let me think about that. Oh, yeah, I guess I could. right? You understand that? I'm not kidding. There are some people that that's what would have to happen before they had a client. Now, if you take your share, what we do know, because this is something that's been studied, is that if you are following this kind of a system for the people you already know, you're going to get a 10 to 12% return on your database. Now, that doesn't mean that 10 to 12% of the people that are in your database are personally going to buy, sell, or invest. People do that on average once every 13 years. So 1/13 of your database might be doing something in any one year, but then there are referrals, which account, by the way, for 40% of all real estate transactions. And what the standard would be is you would call them once a month, the people that are in your that you know. Market reports, and we have a really nice one, but there are a variety of them. Two things that you would send them email, usually, every month about what's going on in their market. And there's some interactive ones. We've got ones where they can say, I want to know what my property's worth, and they can click around and they can, it's got lots of options. One piece of mail every month, assuming you have their address if you don't ask for it. If people say, well, what should I say when they say, why do you want my address? I'd say, because I'm sending you a present. How about that? It's Christmas time is coming up. The holidays are coming up. I want to send you something. Give me your address. Most people will give you their address. Face to face, and by the way, a handwritten card, a thank you card, nice meeting you, good talking to you, have a nice holiday. So after you've talked to them once a month, sending them a handwritten note afterwards that said it was nice talking to you, that would be a good thing. 3 times a year face to face, and you find them on social media. You don't want to just post real estate, real estate, real estate, real estate. You want to interact with their posts. We will talk about that. You do this, you can get a return of about 10 to 12% of the people that are in your database in either them doing something with you or, the future or a referral. That's what I'm saying. So let me see. If I were to talk to 10 people a day, and I did that 5 days a week, and that's 50 people a week, and times 4 weeks is what that's 200 a month. And if I did that for 10 months, because I'm going to take a lot of time off, that would be 2,000 people. And if I were to divide that by 13, which I don't really know the number, but somehow I have a feeling we're in the 130 or something like that transactions, and 10%, let's just say, that would be, let's say it's 130 transactions, and I'm not that good at this, and I only get like 10%, that's 13 to 6, that's not too bad. Not bad for a starter, would it? Right? So if you keep adding people to your sphere of influence and you're following this model, you're going to be closing 1 or 2 transactions a month. By the way, there are some agents that this is all they do. There are training. Ever heard of Brian Buffini or Joe Stumpf by referral only? You can spend a lot of money on just doing this, learning how to do that. Open house activities. What would be the standard, right? You want to make a lot of money in real estate. Tell me what I need to do. All right, do 2 open houses a week. Do they have to be on weekend? No, not necessarily, because vacant homes and even some that aren't vacant, not everybody goes to an office, and sometimes why not? Right? Could you do more than 2 a week? Yeah. Yeah. If every day you could do an open house. But how long does it take to do an open house? Now I'm seeing a lot more 2-hour open houses. Let me just say that. Rather than 3-hour open houses. Traditionally, the open house was 1 to 4. Right? That's just no law said that. It just, ended up that way. What I'm seeing is 12 to 2 or 1 to 3. Why 12 to 2? Right? Why would somebody do a 12 to 2 Saturday, Sunday open house? Because they want to leave time in the afternoon to meet with buyers they met at the open house. They want to leave time. because they need to have a buyer consult, they need to get a buyer representation signed, and maybe go look at homes, right? Which is why you ought to carry some buyer representation agreements with you. Which ones should you carry? My suggestion is the EXP, either both the single party and the general one, because they're short, they're easy to read, and you can print them out and you could handwrite them. If you're going to do it electronically for signatures, use the California Association of Realtors BRBC form. All right, so let's say you do 2 hours, you're at the open house, there's some prep time, let's say it's another hour. You ought to be talking to the people in the neighborhood, a little lead generation before the open house, another, let's say 4 or 5, let's say 5 hours. Right, let's say 5 hours. Right, right, That's and if you've got two of them, it's 10 hours, you're working 40 hours a week, right? Could you spend 10 hours doing open houses, including prep time, including prospecting time? You would, when you get an open house, you would knock or circle prospect around the open house. You'd knock on the door and say, "Hey, my name is Mike, I'm a real estate agent. We're going to be doing an open house this weekend. I bet you want to see what they've done. If you're a nosy neighbor, why don't you come on over and take a look? I'll be there. We'll give you, show you the house. The owner's not going to be there. You can ask questions. Come and see the house." We have an open house system app. Most brokers do of some sort. The one that Brivity, which is what is used by Place, is more sophisticated in its integration, but you ought to have a mastery of the different scripts, practice what are you going to say, and schedule time for following up, because you have to reach out to the people that you met at the open house. You got to put them in a database. You got to follow up with them. Sometimes it takes a year. Sometimes it takes a year before they do anything. Um, did I just do that? I don't know. I thought so. Prospecting activities. All right. So you're working the sphere. We've got a plan, right? You're doing open houses. We got a plan for that too. But you want to make a lot of money in real estate. So you now need to talk to people you do not already know that you can't meet face to face. That's called prospecting. The recommended number to begin with is 150 dials a day. Now, 150 dials doesn't mean 150 conversations. It means 150 dials. How long does it take to do that? We know the answer to that question. It's about an hour and a half. Brivity has a built-in dialer connected to a do not call scrubber, right? So you can just click and it'll dial, and you spend an hour and a half making 150 calls, hour and a half. Now remember, you were going to allocate 3 hours to lead generation, right? That's an hour and a half. You would probably have about 10 to 20 contacts as a result of that. But again, 10 a day times 5 days, it starts to add up. If you're really serious and not just curious, every month you ought to do a 1,000 dial day. What? 1,000? Well, let's say 8 hours. If it took you an hour and a half to do 150, you get the idea. One day you could just power through and add a bunch of people to your database. Now, at Place, we have call nights and inventory creation day where we practice scripts and we make phone calls. And we have, by the way, the lists that you would need to call. We have all that. Now, outside of Place, you could do all this, right? EXP's got training on how to do all of this kind of stuff. You've got software. You could study, how many YouTube videos are there on real estate agents calling for sale by owners? God knows, there's a lot. But putting it all together is what takes a long time, and figuring which is good, what's good and what's not. And so this is sort of a system delivered to you. Emily asked, what happens if I don't have enough people to call? Place owns a company called Land Voice, which is one of the largest data companies in the United States, used mostly by real estate agents and loan agents. And for sale by owners, expired, circle prospecting, predictive analytics, notices of default, all that stuff. is included in the system. You won't run out of people to call. Right? You won't run out of people to call. Um, Brivity is our system for managing all of this. And one of the things about what Brivity does, and by the way, part of what we're doing that's different at Place than what EXP, Keller Williams, Global Banker, etc., is that we're actually going to help you set up and implement the programs. Now, in terms of contacts, all of this can be done. It's going to tell you, the system will tell you, these are the people you need to talk to. Hey, look at this person. They've looked at this house 3 times. Hey, look at this. Right. And so there's a system for following up with people that you put into the database. Remember, 70% of transactions come from that. You would need to go through all the contacts. You need to do the status changes. For example, are they moving from a prospect to an active client? You would need to set up or have set up listing alerts and market reports, sending properties to people. And a reverse prospect is when we're reverse prospecting, which is also there's an MLS version, is where if you have a listing, you're looking for agents that have searches that match your listing so that you can reach out to the agent and say, hey, I don't know if you noticed this, but I just, listed a property on K Avenue in Union City, and it's a, two condo, and I see you're looking for two condos in Union City. Did you notice? Did you notice my listing? Have you seen it? Right? You got any questions? You get the idea. Now, this I know looks very simplistic. This is what the system does, and what's different between the Brivity system and what I've been involved with at Keller Williams and Citrix 21 and EXP and others is that and EXP, by the way, has better technology for as a basic starter pack than Keller Williams, Coldwell Banker, Citrix 21, and most other real estate companies. It's a better package, but it's not a completely integrated everything package. So for example, at EXP, you can use KV Core. There's an upgrade to Chime. Chime has a lot more landing pages and things like that. Does Chime also relate to transaction management? No, no, it doesn't. Does Chime or KV Core, are they good at printing stuff or marketing? Nah, not really. Right? Do they make flyers and social media posts automatically? Yeah, but they're not, I don't know. They're not, they've got limits, right? And everything isn't integrated together into one overall system, right? Which is what this is. Everything from IDX websites. And what we're doing, by the way, you just ever understand, I'm not leaving EXP. This isn't a non-EXP thing, right? This is a within EXP, but we're going to have team websites for agents that include greater IDX support than what you're getting now. And what I mean is that I'm in Silicon Valley, I have MLS listings and CRMLS, but I don't have Bridge, and I don't have San Francisco Association. And if you're in Southern California, you might have the San Diego with CRMLS, but you don't necessarily have the MLS, the Los Angeles one, on your website. You can search it in the MLS, but it's not part of the IDX because of just crazy things. But anyhow, I'm going to be a member of all those MLSs so that your agent website would include listings not just from your primary MLS, but for the other primary MLSs in your area. Which in Southern California, there's 2. In the Bay Area, there's like 5. And yeah, I'm not going to go through all of this, but you can see. So there's a lead routing, auto plans, market reports. It shows what's going on with your transactions. There's a program for making CMAs. The reason why that's valuable is most agents that are paying reasonable attention know about RPR. Sellers will see a bunch of CMAs that look exactly alike. when you show up with something that doesn't look like every other agent's, it looks better, right? There's a built-in dialer and reverse prospecting as the system is already built in. Artificial intelligence, of course, that is for lead nurturing, some back and forth and things like that. Very good at it, as a matter of fact. They suggest content, help compose emails and notes. We have our own, it's called Gabby, our own AI program. And remember we talked about knowing the market. Place has a arrangement with, in fact, they own it, with one of the Place partners, which is called Area Pro, and it gives you insight on what's going on in local markets. Now, you might be thinking, couldn't I just, go to RPR? RPR, yeah, zip code, city, general statistics. But, and it's about 30 days old, whereas this is not 30 days old. One of the things that I like about this, and this is old school, okay? I'm old school, is that we used to do this thing where we would create like a target, and each of the different rings would be a different price range. Now, some of the MLS technology allows you to do this, but in any market, what's happening varies dramatically depending upon the price range you're in. The bottom quartile, the mid quartiles, the top quartile, and so days on market, number of listings that are canceled, expired, withdrawn, price reductions. A lot of times, all of that occurs within different price bands. This program will do this. This, by the way, is included for Place team members. You have access to this. You can share it. You can create reports. You can answer the questions. How's the real estate market? There's also, we have, I think it's 140, 50, I don't know. There is our task, you get a listing, what needs to be done, there's a whole bunch of them. The vast majority of all the tasks that are done on a listing, the team is going to do. Order the sign, have the flyers made, sent to you, over, I think it's 106 of the items that are on the list are all going to be done through the team. Now, for those of you that have had transactions, Ra is the transaction coordinator for both Place as well as my EXP team, and still would be doing that. None of that changes, except that on the Place team, her services, we are paying her rather than you are paying her. That's one of the differences. Plus, Angela, who's the director of operations, is going to be doing other things behind the scenes to help make all this more efficient. And so it includes listing marketing, lead generation. So there are different ways of being a real estate agent. You can be an independent agent. Remember, the 16 years plus average agent is making 80 grand. Those are mostly independent agents. What I mean by an independent agent is I'm going to do everything myself. I'm looking for the brokerage that charges the least amount every month. I want the highest commission split. And, I don't know, that's it, right? That's what I want. And so I can do everything myself. I realize that under that arrangement, they're not going to do much to help me, right? This is a do-it-yourself kind of a thing. I'm going to be independent. I'll learn everything. I'm going to study how to do for sale by owners and expired listings and circle prospecting and how to contact for the people who are in pre-foreclosure. I'm going to do all that. I'm going to do all that. I'll get to that. I'm going to do all that. So myself, right? But that's probably not the best use of the time because you're spending most of your time doing all that other stuff. There are dependent agents. I've had agents say, well, I'm going to go join another team. Why? This doesn't happen very often, but occasionally, well, what's motivating you? Well, they say they're going to give me leads. Well, what they mean is older internet leads. Yeah. but you're dependent on the team. And by the way, in the place model, we're going to give you um, internet leads also once you are implementing the systems we already have. But if you're dependent on a team or a broker for all of your business, then you never have your own business and you can never leave because you never have your own business and you're always paying for that. Now, we're in sort of an interdependent in that we're providing you with a lot of the services and tools and even some leads that dependent agents get, but with the focus of you being independent and growing your own business and eventually having your own team. So there's a question about door knocking. If you want to do it, yes, there are certain areas you need to, your board of realtors can give you information about local rules, which are generally city or county or by a homeowner association. And they have, rules and you just have to comply with them. I'm not going to get into what do you do if the subdivider doesn't want you through the gate. You don't go, all right, unless you have an invitation. Any questions about of these three, independent, dependent, interdependent, which of those three would you think works best for you? I just want to see how many people are still there. No, that's it. Number one, independent. Enter. Thank you. I'm just seeing if people are still paying attention. There we go. Very good. Very good. All right. So the place model has low to no expenses. We pay for stuff. Right. We pay for, and notice most agents are spending at least 40% of their commissions on various expenses, some much more. I see agents that are spending $10,000 a month on all sorts of different stuff, which most of which is covered by the team. You would do more business. We have, and I'll show you a couple of things before, you would have more time because 75% of the administrative tasks are going to be done. And we have a system where you don't have to leave, you can grow and create your own team. Move on from there. All right. Let me just show you a couple things. All right. When I log into, this is one of my bookmarks. So place my apps, there's Brivity CRM, which is the customer relationship management system. By the way, they have automated farming, marketing materials. I'm not going to go through each of the tabs, but automated farming materials, marketing materials. Now, EXP has made a deal with Canva, and Canva is good, and it may be, I don't know, the kind of thing you may find difficult at the beginning to do yourself. Whereas in the Brivity platform, you don't have to learn Canva, right? You don't have to make the marketing material, right? We're going to do that for you. One of the places I would suggest, and some of you that are on the call, E&O insurance, however, Neil, is covered by EXP. So this doesn't change. Being on the place model, you still have $4,000 if you're on my mega team that you would give to EXP every year, and $85 a month that would go to EXP. Would it replace KV Core? You wouldn't need both. It's not like you're going to delete KV Core or lose KV Core, but this is a way more effective system than KV Core. Way more effective. So the first thing are there courses on all private, or is there anything that could be previewed? The courses are private. I mean, we have a YouTube channel with videos, but the courses are private. You get a sense of it. So I went to Place Academy. And what I would suggest, by the way, we have a 90-day onboarding program for experienced agents, a 90-day onboarding program for new agents. How do you log into Brivity? Well, Neil, you would have to join my place team. We would have to talk about it. Otherwise, you don't get, you have to talk to me. So what the close is going to be, if you're interested in finding out about how Place works and how you could get access to all of this, you need to make an appointment to talk to me. And I've emailed my contact information many times. All right. So where am I going with this? If I go to the certifications, I've already done some of these just because Brivity and Web Lead certification, the buyer consultation is really good. I went through it. They have their own buyer consultation. And what hit me when I was going through it is because there's a page and I was thinking, oh, yeah, I used to do this. In fact, there are videos of me on my YouTube channel doing a home buying seminar where I was going through that particular element. They have an app on the phone that does all the calculations for what the mortgage payment would likely to be and how much interest they would pay at the end of the year and how much money they would make with appreciation. All those calculations are all done through a calculator. There you have a button, you click, and you get there. A buyer consultation, there is a downloadable, there's a consultation. You can customize it, but it's out of the box. There's scripts, there's practice, everything. Listing presentation, open house certification, prospecting, social media, how to use the web page. What else do I have here? And the working your sphere. And these are all organized programs from the onboarding to working with open houses to generating leads, all of that. Well, I don't know what to say. Well, we have a script library. Part of my reason for doing this is I know these people, right place, because I was at Keller Williams for 7 years, right? So I know these people, and what's usually missing is, yeah, there's scripts over here, and agents are contacting me and saying, well, what's the script for this, or what's the script for that, or what do I say, and where is it all together someplace where I could easily get my hands on them? Well, yeah, they're all together here. Our place is where it has, let me go through the three things. The three things are Brivity, which is the CRM. I have a app on my phone. The Academy, which are the structured certifications and ongoing courses. And our place, which you might think, well, workplace that EXP has way more sophisticated than that. There are scripts, there are presentations, there are videos and trainings, and all of that stuff is all built into the system. Right. That's been an hour. It seems longer, doesn't it? At least it does to me. So if you're interested if you're in place already because you've raised your hand, what I'm suggesting is, and in January, we're going to be live. Most of your technology is going to be working by January 1st. You have access, by the way, if you're new on the place, to the Academy, you have access to our place. My suggestion would be look around and go through the launch program, the 90-day launch program for people that are either experienced agents or news. And I had a question there. Somebody's hand was up, but it went down. Is there a question? All right. Check it out. And starting in January, we're going to be doing weekly meetings with the team, power-ups they're called. Go through the orientation program, become familiar with the system, and let me know if you have any questions. Any questions?
No?
Oh, I must have satisfied you.
I have a question.
Oh,
You
good.
you mentioned to do the 90-day launch program, and is there something specific I should start with first?
If you've probably been sent an email.
Okay.
There's a schedule, and I'll make sure you know where the live version is going to be starting again in early January. And you'll be getting a schedule plus the launch is in our place. There's an experienced agent launch and a new agent launch. It wouldn't hurt. There's a lot of similarity, but
Mhm.
if you just typed in or reached out to Angela or we'd send you the link, but you can find it if you go to our place, new agent launch.
Okay, thank you so much.
And Escibio, did I even come close to saying that right? Do you have a question? Your hands up.
Oh yes. My question is, do you need your license to go on an open house where people who don't have real estate licenses can they go on an open house to see how the agent like does the process? Like,
You don't
right.
need a real estate license to go to an open house and sit there and watch. You need a real estate license if you're going to solicit buyers, sellers, landlords, and tenants. So you would be careful about what you would say to them. See, this is like saying, I don't have a fishing license. Can I go on the fishing boat? Sure. Can I help them put bait together? Yes. Can I put bait on the hooks? Uh-huh. Can I drag the bait in the water? No. No, you can't do that. Right? Because that's the part that requires the license. So just being there doesn't require a real estate license. So sure, you can do that. You can go and check them out and say, hey, I'm about to get my real estate license. I just want to come and look at open houses. How you doing? You know, sure.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions? All right. Are we good? Have a happy holidays, everybody. And
You too, Michael.
see you
Yes,
again
thank you
next.
very much. Happy
Michael.
holidays.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Bye.